Live from the NTP studios, this is the K12 Tech Talk podcast. This is episode 229. I'm Josh, really tired. It's the second week of school. Chris, you're with me tonight.
How's it going, buddy?
You said
Don't
you
be
were
so
tired.
down.
You said you were tired too, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick it up a notch just for you.
Mark is not here again. We have not heard this.
That's why you're down.
Yeah, we have not heard. This is probably the longest that we've gone in, I think, probably since we started hanging out with Mark, that we haven't heard from Mark.
I agree with that.
I even messaged and said, Mark, blink twice if you're okay, and nothing.
He gave nothing.
I mean, the last communication we had from Mark was he was on a glacier riding behind dogs in a dog sled. He could have gotten eaten by a polar bear. We don't know.
Really dark.
Yeah, Mark would appreciate that, though.
We hope that he's enjoying Alaska,
I really hope he's enjoying Alaska.
but we miss him.
Yeah, because
So how's the this is third week
no,
for us
this is
or second?
week, right? Is this second week of school? Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, second week of school. It
Okay,
feels
how's week number 2?
rougher. I don't know. It's been really busy. Really, really busy. Just meetings and okay, so the biggest amount of our summer work this year was we moved our 6th grade from our intermediate building to our middle school. And in our intermediate building, they used a lot of like iXL and BrainPop and Study Island.
Okay.
You know, those software as a service type companies. So they were allowed to keep that when they moved to the middle school with the understanding of we are likely only going to keep that for one more year. So the building had to initiate those contracts because it's a new building getting the contract, even though 6th grade had always used it in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And we've always used Clever to roster that stuff just because it's easy. We're already pumping that data to Clever and it's click, click, click. Rosters are done. Accounts are done. SSOs are done. Like it's easy peasy, right? Well, every software application has to go through the resetup process, reinitialization process. We're being invited to Clever. No, I'm already sending this data to Clever. Just turn it back
again.
on. Yeah, just turn it back on. Like there's so that's been a lot. And the I feel bad, it's a frustration for the teachers, for the 6th grade teachers. I get it. It's just, unfortunately we're relying on outside entities to get their stuff together and it's been painful. Chromebooks are going well though, it feels like. It's interesting, cell phone ban. It feels like we talk about this every week. I am seeing, I don't know how often you're in your filter, but I am seeing different websites in the top 5-10 websites.
Interesting. Yep.
Than we did last year completely. Google Docs right now is number 1 and YouTube actually is down lower, 5 or 6, which is surprising to me. Mm-hmm. But kind of the consensus, we all know kids are chatting in Docs and they're using the camera on the Chromebook to take pictures and, insert those into documents. So the amount of throughput that we're sending docs is very, very high. So it's super out of character compared to years prior.
Yeah, so I had, I guess 2 things with that. I had a teacher complain about the quality of our Chromebook camera this week.
What?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I said. She was used to letting the kids use their cell phones.
Okay, so 48
to take
megapixel
pictures. Yes.
Chris, shame on you for not buying a Chromebook with a 48 megapixel selfie cam.
I know. Like that's whatever. I don't know if I want to call it an impact, but she was shifting some of her things because she can't.
What is she needing that high of a?
It's in a science class where they do like a notebook. They document the progress of things and they do some heavy documentation with the progress of things in the form of photos as, a plant grows or a robot is built, all that kind of thing. So it's not as good looking as previous years, I guess.
I can get that, but
kinda.
This reminds me when I think I was relatively green in K12 And it was one of the first years we had Chromebooks. Was it the Lenovo N21 that had the
camera would flip?
The swivel
Yeah, I was all about that.
Like, that now, that has a very valid use. Like,
yeah, we were bummed, actually, when they quit doing that. I thought it made tons of sense.
Didn't somebody say that if you swiveled it a whole bunch of times, that it would break the cable?
Yeah, the N21s would break. Yeah, and then it was... Or it'd just spin and it was stupid.
Yeah.
It was like a fidget spinner.
Yeah.
Anyways, we had that this week. Another interesting thing that I myself navigated through. So I help with a robotics program, a couple of them actually after school. Well, our kids, so bell to bell, electronic device ban.
Oh.
So they crave their phone at our after school program.
So it's like a junkie getting a hit.
Yes. And I was the jerk that, because they all know bell to bell. Like, that's what they've been preached at.
Right.
Well, I touch base with principal. It is club rules or after school program rules, whatever we want to do. Well, we're still going to be hardcore about no phone usage because the environment is so much better.
Yeah. Yes.
Not having to watch or listen to the stupid YouTube videos, the meme of the day.
Yes.
Whatever. But I was the buzzkill in the club for not letting them get on their phones.
How'd they take that?
I had one kid argue a little bit.
Really?
With me, just because he's not wrong. He was told bell to bell, and then I had to let him know, yes, you're correct. And then in our program, it's going to continue. Unless you got to talk to mom, dad, guardian, whatever.
Right.
But we're just not doing it. We want you to use your Chromebook still. If you need to watch a video about this engineering thing with this robot, pull out your Chromebook.
Interesting.
And again, we used to be okay with cell phone, but it is a distraction.
Absolutely. Because
there was always silly stuff that came along with it. Like there was.
And they're attempting to catch up from the day.
Yes, you could tell. I was killing it. The room changed when I spoke, and I was like, no, we're not doing the cell phones for the next 2 hours still, because the club goes 2 hours after school. Like, and that's a long day without a phone too.
Well, and all the friends are chatting and they're missing those messages because jerk Chris won't let them on their phones for 2 hours.
But it is right, that continuation of what we said, where this thing passed and there's going to be different situations that come out of it that weren't thought about.
Well, okay, so just talk through that. Would a coach on the football team
correct
allow their football players to have phones?
No,
practice?
and a football player wouldn't dare ask.
Well, good point, because they'd be running or doing push-ups or something. Yeah.
And we do this. I sometimes, it's the stigma stuff, right, with esports or with robotics, where if you compare it to a sport, hey, it's not a sport. And I don't think esports is a sport. I think it's an activity. I think it's a great activity.
Hot
robotics
take.
is not a sport.
But
we can
send the hate mail, K12TechTalk@gmail.com.
Like, we don't do like thumb exercises before we play Overwatch.
No, but you're
whatever,
exercising
right?
your brain.
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
They get calluses and esports on their fingers from the joysticks.
Scholar Bowl. That's a great activity.
It's a
great program.
They can get scholarships.
That's great to give a scholarship, but it's not showing any kind of athleticism.
Whoa, you
correct?
Gonna get
you agree?
No.
Nonetheless, it's not the same, but we can put it into some of the same. This is my feelings, my opinion. But like you said, a football player would not say, "Hey, coach, before we run this play, can I watch this?
Can we record a TikTok, coach?"
Like, it wouldn't happen. So then you shift it back into like these after school activities that are in a classroom still, just because it's convenient and easy, and it wouldn't necessarily be a big impact to everybody. No, like, keep your phone away. We're here to do robots.
Do you think there's a different standard per sport though? Like football, absolutely. Football coach isn't going to even entertain that idea. Do you think volleyball or softball or any other?
I wouldn't think so.
You don't think? I don't know.
And I even, again, sticking with what I actually work with, which is robotics, and sometimes I'm not with esports, but it's in one of the rooms that we're in. Like, you can use your phone to be a part of, like, they can bring their phone out.
Sure.
Or they used to.
Sure. And
they are doing it for legitimate reasons that pertain to the program. But it's been better. We've done a couple meetings now to just say, no, you can't, and just use your school issued device. And they stick. I mean, they're just more focused. They are. It's true.
You've seen that vibe change in the environment.
The person that I do the robotics program with, like we were talking today, it is like they're working with their teams. It's a thing, you have like 3-5 kids per team, and they build a robot together and they work on programming together. They fill out an engineering notebook together, and they're talking to each other. And when they need to look at a video, they're getting their Chromebook out. They don't really want to get their Chromebook out, right? So they're getting it out with purpose when they're getting it out.
Yeah.
And it's probably early to be like, this has changed everything, but man, it's been a good start.
Early indications, yeah.
Yeah. Where you just feel, man, it feels different. It feels like there's more focus going on.
Interesting.
Maybe they're just great kids. I don't know.
Before we get much further, why don't you hit all of our sponsors, because it's going to be a quick episode tonight.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to hit these quick, but listeners, like, devote time to each of these because they show us love. They show you guys love. So we have Manage Methods. Check out managemethods.com. They can watch over what our kids are doing. So we have more kids on Google Docs, more kids in chat. Manage Methods could help you be proactive with safety, with cybersecurity. So check out managemethods.com. They can, if you're a Microsoft school, they can dig into that stuff on that side of the house as well. Our friends over at Fortinet podcast at Fortinet.com. This is our first year full on with our new FortiGate. Talking about esports, I just had to spend quite a bit of time, first Overwatch games, in practice, and Fortinet, because we're doing geofencing stuff. I couldn't get some of our Overwatch stuff to work. I had to just,
really,
and I ended up finding it's the application part. I could allow what I needed to, found the IP range that most of that stuff pumps through. So esports is up and running and a little more safe and secure because of Fortinet. So you can email Fortinetpodcast at Fortinet.com.
Esports is a sport.
Sports in the name.
Yeah.
But maybe it is, And what is sport? I've always said, that first guy that was like, hey, let's put a hole in the ground and then use a stick to hit a ball into the hole. That's stupid.
Is there a sport?
But that's golf.
Is there a sport that doesn't use a ball besides esports? Well, I guess gymnastics.
Yeah, but that gets debated too, right? My daughter was a big dancer, and that was always a dance sport,
Yeah. What's the threshold? That's an interesting question. Who else you got? What other sponsor?
New sponsor, Arista. So our friend Erin over at Arista, her email is evonder, VONDER at Arista.com. So they do switching, they do networking. They have some simplified management. Their network architecture is designed for ease of use. They have a single operating model across wired and wireless networks. It just helps reduce the complexity of managing your network. They have some AI-driven management as well, machine learning stuff going on as well. So you get some real-time visibility and analytics into what your networking is doing. And then they pride themselves on zero-touch configuration so they can get your stuff deployed very quickly. And again, they're talking to us in schools. They're paying attention to what school networking guys and gals need. So check out Arista at Arista.
I just got a text from one of our producers. Cheerleading and dance are sports.
I've always been for dance. My oldest daughter, actually, and my younger, but my oldest daughter is doing college dance. She does talk about being like she's going to like a D1 or whatever, and she's like, I'm a D1 athlete.
And you said, no, you're not.
With those palms. She hates palms, though, by the way. But esports, come on. Just using a controller.
What is that level? Is it the fact that they can get scholarships?
Then you would call it a sport.
Right. I mean, you can get academic scholarships, and academics isn't athletics. It's academics. You're Googling
is
it, aren't you?
Esports a sport?
You guys can Google. Frisbee golf. The producer says Frisbee golf.
Well, Google says.
Ultimate Frisbee is a sport. Ultimate Frisbee
It can be considered.
Ultimate Frisbee was just at the World Games. Marquez Brownlee from MKBHD played in the World Games. There's a chance that it'll be in the Olympics. You can't say Ultimate Frisbee is not a sport if it might be in the Olympics.
Is chess a sport?
Ooh.
No.
I don't know. It's a competition.
Well, yeah.
Right. Are all competitions sports? Arm wrestling?
We need a mark.
We do need a mark. We need a tiebreaker. Yep. This is why we have Mark. He's much more cerebral than we are. He would have some answer tying to some law from 1932.
Yeah, he'd use a couple big words.
Yeah.
It'd be really annoying.
Something happened in Boston in 1783 that established the...
Did you know that the first esports was in Boston?
At one of my high schools. They speak it. They teach Latin there.
We play esports on sailboats sometimes.
Yeah. We don't start school until after Labor Day. Let us know.
Miss you, Mark.
He's going to listen to this on the plane home and he's going to kill us. Send your hate mail, K12TechTalk@gmail.com. What's a sport?
What is a sport?
What is a sport? Yeah, I don't know. So I tell you, Google made a sport out of rolling back ChromeOS updates this week. See what I did there? See that nice?
That was pretty nice.
So 139 came out, I guess, earlier this week at some point, and then all hell broke loose. Clever and ClassLink SSOing had, I guess, horrible problems. My elementary school uses Clever badges, but I always try to stay. Okay, this is good. This is a good topic. Chris, do you have your ChromeOS updates set to newest, or do you try to stay a revision behind?
I do newest, and I just stagger. I have a stagger window
of how many.
So
days?
I feel like it's. I want to say 7. Just
7
shooting off the hip. But,
yeah,
because I feel like that's been fine. Where we start to hear an issue, and then we're like, "Oh crap, something's going on."
Yeah, we. I always typically try to stay one behind. I released 138 when 139 came out.
Now, is that you manually going in there?
Yeah. There's not a setting to say that automatically. I just have to know that, once a month or so I go in and check that.
I was going to say, is that just a mental thing that you're just on top of? That's part of your groove?
Yeah. Sorry. So we stay one behind. So we didn't get caught in this, but a couple districts that we talk to pretty regularly, they were contacting Google support, and then Google sent out that alert yesterday that ChromeOS was having issues. Their first recommendation was to do a manual rollback on the device to 138. And then I guess they sent out an email this morning saying that they were actually pulling back 139. And
rare.
I don't know that they've ever done that.
I feel like more typically they just push out the next one.
Right. Yeah. Patch it somehow quickly.
Yeah. They roll hard.
Yeah. But I talked to a district or saw a conversation with a district that they issued the command roll back to 138. They said it worked really well. They said it, more or less wipes the local profiles and kind of does a reset, and it rolls back to the whatever version, whatever revision that you're putting it to. But they said it worked in a couple thousand Chromebooks pretty quickly, pretty easily, which I was kind of shocked.
Yes. That'd
be like
terrible.
Last resort situation.
Now I'm going to issue no command.
Well, you remember it felt like for a while there, Google, about once a year, they'd have some major issue. Like I remember cameras stopped working in one, and like there's just been random OS updates that had an issue like this. But I want to say it's probably been 3 or 4 years since they've had a documented, widespread, oh man, we messed this up in an update. I remember I don't remember what it was, but it happened around testing season, and that's what burned me.
Yes.
And got me in the mentality of just staying one behind. I'm not going to be on the newest revision anymore. I'm going to stay one behind. It's still receiving security updates. It's still getting what it needs to get. I'm letting everyone else figure out what's going on with the new version, and when the new one's released, I'll step up to still be one behind.
I think in most other things that we manage, we try to stay 1 or 2 back.
Well,
is typically my vibe.
Really, Chromebooks, The update process with Chromebooks is probably different than any other platform that you are updating firmware on, right? Like typically, like with a Switch firmware, I'm not going out of my way to update Switch firmware when a new rev comes out. I'm only updating Switch firmware when I'm told there's a critical vulnerability or I'm having a weird problem that is addressed with an update. Recently, that's changed with Fortinet, and the gate is now doing auto updates, and you can tell it how many days to wait before, if a GA release gets released, you can tell it how many days to wait before you apply that GA release. That's new. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. But really, Chromebooks are the only product that I have that kind of does that automatic.
And you more trust it, a lot of people trust it.
Yes, but it's also, I don't want to say less critical, because they're critical devices. Like, kids learn on them. But if I have a firmware update go sideways on a Switch, to me, the impact is much greater than if we have a update go sideways and it borks a camera on a Chromebook.
Switching is easy. Like I think our pride is when we see uptime of many days.
To a degree, yeah.
Which means that you're not doing updates.
Right. Yeah. It's an interesting line to walk for sure. Different mentality.
Lightspeed had and Lightspeed does sponsor us, so I'll speak good things today. But Lightspeed had a definite period of time where you would, and Corey, who used to be on the K12 Tech Talk podcast, he and I would touch base. Hey, we're going to press that button, yes or no? We always stayed one or two back.
Yeah.
And Matt over at Corey's school too, you would do an update and something would break, like the thing that the update was going to fix.
Right.
Would fix, but then the next update would break something else. So you're always debating what's the right thing to do.
And that seems like it's
stay with this problem, or do you go to another? Yes, it's gotten much better.
It's gotten way better. It felt like
it's gotten better. It's better. It's good. It's been fine.
More of an issue back when we first started Midwest Tech Talk 7-8 years ago than it is now.
1000%.
Yeah. Interesting.
I don't like updates.
Yeah, it's
Windows updates.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that they Bleeping Computer had an article last week. 24H2 is pretty well known to be borking SSD drives right now, and kind of the consensus unofficial from Microsoft, but everybody else is saying pump the brakes if on these 24H2 updates, just pump the brakes a little bit. We're not real sure what's going on. But there definitely seems to be a trend of SD and NVMe drives dying after taking a 24H2 update. And you can find that article over on Bleeping Computer. I'm not making this up. This was news to a group of folks that I talked to quite regularly today. I was pretty surprised that none of them had heard about it.
We've been chasing we gave one building a bunch of your favorite
Lenovo's.
Yep. Lenovo laptops, and they're dying, and if you reset the battery, they're better, and it's starting to feel like it's not hardware. It's starting to feel like it's something software. If it's if it's firmware, if it's BIOS, if it's whatever. So I think right now we've sent one off to Lenovo, and then we've kept one and ordered parts for it to try to, because we're a self-maintainer, so we're gonna take a stab at some different scenarios to see if we can figure out what it is.
Windows laptop?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that's, we've you chase around the thought, is it just some Windows update? Like, so let's just turn off updates.
Well, we had a problem with Windows 11 on a couple machines losing the taskbar. Like it would boot fine, it'd be fine. And then all of a sudden, randomly, the taskbar with the start menu, all of it would be gone. You'd still have the desktop. You could click on the icons on the desktop, but you couldn't hit the start button. You couldn't do, Windows or the keyboard start key or control escape. We narrowed it down to a funky group policy setting that we had when we originally rolled Windows 10. I don't know. Weird. So we had to roll back a bunch of policies and troubleshooting, trying to figure out what the heck that was. Never really did. I think it was a display setting of some sort, but never did really nail down exactly what it was.
So here's the conclusion. Let's turn off updates.
Yeah, sounds great.
Let our colleagues around the world test before we do.
This is what happens when Mark is gone. We give really, really good advice. Really good advice. And yeah.
All right. Josh, I think I'm ready just to introduce
all right, go
this
for
interview
it.
thing.
Yeah, this was actually a really cool interview. Go ahead. Who did we interview?
Well, let's how can we hype this? So there's this AI thing.
I don't know that we have ever interviewed a founder / CEO of a company that is like, everybody knows this company, right? Like, everybody knows this company if you're in K12. And we we interviewed the founder and CEO
of MagicSchool.
And he was
Adeel Khan.
Super cool guy.
He appreciated our MagicSchool bus jokes. Yep. We asked about the future of AI in MagicSchool, which you'll have to listen if he answered that or not. But the big, and this was what was cool, and I think this is what is different about what you're going to listen to. We asked some tech questions. We want to know kind of the tech behind MagicSchool, and he talked about it.
Okay.
And he comes from K12 as well. So
which I thought that was super cool too.
He still gets it. Yeah. He still speaks the street talk of K12.
And we asked that question about the tech behind it, because if there's one criticism about MagicSchool, the comment is they're just a wrapper on insert your favorite AI. They're a wrapper on Gemini, or they're a wrapper on OpenAI or Anthropic or whatever. So we flat out asked him, what do you say to that? So you have to listen and hear what he says. And I feel like the talking points he had and the way he explained it, yep, it makes sense. It yep, really does make sense.
Yeah, so this is the interview that Mark did not attend because he wanted to, but he was traveling up the Alaskan mountains, chasing polar bears
and whales.
On a whale
hunt. All right, Chris. So we have a pretty big guest here with us. This is pretty cool. We have Adeel Khan, from MagicSchool, CEO of MagicSchool. Let him introduce himself, and we'll go from there.
Adeel, how's it going?
It's going well. Thanks so much for having me today. Like mentioned, my name's Adeel. I'm the founder of MagicSchool. But I'm also, someone who's spent a lifetime in education. I started my career as a special education teacher. I also taught English and history. I was an assistant principal for many years, and then had an opportunity to found a public high school here in Denver, Colorado, which I did in 2017 as the principal, and then coached principals for a year at the district level, cool, and took some time off, and that was kind of where MagicSchool got started.
I guess, will you tell us, so I told Josh, like, hey, no MagicSchool bus jokes. But we're kind of wondering if that's okay. And then we were just talking to, and you mentioned that could be a part of your origin story. So would you talk about MagicSchool bus? Would you talk about your origin story? Tell us about MagicSchool and its beginnings.
Yeah. So, MagicSchool is something that quite I would say a non-traditional story from an ed tech perspective. I didn't know how non-traditional it was until we've kind of gotten larger and grown connections to others in the industry. But MagicSchool, like I mentioned, started when I was taking some time off after a year of coaching principals. I was on kind of my own personal sabbatical. I traveled a little bit. And then I came back in November of 2022, and that's when ChatGPT came out. And that was kind of the ChatGPT moment in the world when it was dominating the headlines, and it felt very serendipitous that, November is the time when I was a principal or a teacher, I'd be kind of crawling to winter break and doing everything I could to make sure that we were getting our final grades in and wrapping up things as we head into the holidays. But I happen to be someone who was pretty rested off of some travel and could really engage in this new technology and understand what it offered for educators. And genuinely, when I started using it, while the headlines that dominated were around how, students were going to use this to cheat and how this was the end of education,
yeah,
I would just, really, really compelled by how much utility there was here for educators, and how I would have used this technology if I was still in the classroom or principal. So I didn't really quite know what I'd do with that as I was experiencing the tech. But what I started with was going to different schools and districts, starting with my own, the one that I founded, and I showed ChatGPT to teachers, and I said, I want to show you a couple use cases that I think would be really valuable to you. And I want to hear what you think. And I would like kind of run a little mini professional development session where I'd model a couple ways to use it. And always they would end with like teachers with their jaws on the ground, like just
Sure.
I can't believe that this exists. This is incredible. It's so useful. So I was really energized, and I really thought that this was going to be a big deal for education. But I would always, at the end of these professional development sessions, end with a challenge. I'd say, here's your homework. Try this in as many circumstances as you could possibly think of in your day to day in the classroom, in a school building. And I'm going to come back in a week, and I want to know all the ways that you used it. And I figured that, folks in the work are going to have way more thoughts on where they might use this than I
Sure.
am. I'm not working in schools right now. So I came back, and I'd get like, answers would range in these three categories. One, I didn't use it at all. And I'd be like, really? Like, you were so excited about it. Like,
We know
wow.
those teachers.
Yeah.
But I was like kind of surprised because, again, they were really excited. And then there was a second group, and they were like, I tried using it, but I kind of had the blank page problem. And like, I was prompting it so much to get it to do what I wanted to do. It just wouldn't come out right. And I find one of the promises that I would make to teachers, this is going to save you a lot of time. And they were like, it ended up costing me more time, and I just did it myself.
Sure.
And then there was the third group, and these were kind of the tech teachers, and it was the smallest
Mhm.
group, two teachers, the many that and they were like, oh my God, this has changed my whole life. Like, I'm completely doing my work differently now. Let me tell you about the ways that I'm doing it. Some things that I would have assumed they'd use it for, and then some things that I just completely wouldn't have imagined. So that kind of was the problem statement for Magic School. It was this idea that there's this generational technology in the world that stands to benefit educators in an incredible way. And only the really, really tech forward teachers are the ones accessing it right now. Just about every teacher in the building could benefit from it if it was made for them and
Mhm.
really, really aligned to the needs that they have in the classroom. So that was kind of the origin of why I decided to make a product. There was a lot of things I thought I might do, like I might go and train schools, like I was training my school on this, right? Like go around the country and do that because of what I'd learned and how excited people were at the training sessions. But the idea to build a product was because I didn't think the existing products were serving the profession that I'd worked in for my whole career as well as we could as a product.
So hit us with the hot take. Why the name Magic School?
I was thinking about a bunch of names, and I there wasn't like a very clear like the Magic School Bus, but I grew up watching it when I was a teacher, and Miss Frizzle was an important part of all of our lives. But Magic and AI were kind of like intersecting at the time in a lot of different product things. I tried a bunch of them that you might like imagine as like really simple, obvious names, and then
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you give us some little Easter eggs?
Yeah,
of names you
like
thought of?
there's so the .ai domain names were kind of like just completely already ransacked by the time that I had like started looking for things. So I'm sure there's a lot of those that I probably tried. I'm trying to think of like one that would be really interesting. Those early days, but it came to me one night. I was just like Magic School. Like it was like literally all at once. And I just like did the Magic School thing. It wasn't like a ChatGPT generated suggested name. It was like
That's
genuinely
funny.
came to me. The actual more interesting story probably is we named it Magic School, or I came up with that name. I registered that domain and and then the next day, maybe the next day or two, one of our early teammates, mind you, who was a volunteer, all of our early teammates were volunteers. We were just, as we were launching this product, it was bootstrapped, and I was just draining my bank account to make it happen. Her name is Steffi. She works on our partnerships team now here in the West. But at the time, she was leading our marketing, and we kind of immediately afterwards came up with the teachers are magic kind of idea, which is that it will never be, AI will never be the star of the show. Teachers are the magic and AI can help. But that was something we came up with almost immediately after, and it became kind of our rallying cry. And one of the biggest, I think, boons to our success is like the way that we approach this, people appreciate. They recognize that like we're not a company here to replace the teacher's thinking or their jobs. We're here to assist them, and we recognize how important they are in the learning journey of a child, and we want to work around them and support them rather than technology that promises to automate their brilliance. So, when we had our first booth at ISTE, another I think maybe fun, interesting story. We spent like we'd raised like $25,000 at the time, and we spent our entire fundraise on having a booth at ISTE. If you don't know, booths at ISTE are extremely expensive.
Yeah.
And we made that decision last minute. We were just going to like, it's funny to think back. Like, I didn't even really know what ed tech was. Like, mind you, like I was a teacher in schools and principal, but I didn't like understand the industry in any sense. I just kind of, I knew products existed. I didn't know what ISTE was, but maybe 2 weeks before ISTE, one of my close friends was like, "Hey, the biggest ed tech conference in the world is happening, and you're starting this product. You should probably go and like, learn about the industry that you're trying to like be a part of." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And, I brought Steffi along, and when we got there, we were like sitting at the exhibit hall check-in booth. If you've ever been to like a ISTE, there's like this place where you go and get your badge, stuff like that. And we were like, you know what? Like, man, it feels like we should just try it and see what happens. And so we went and we asked the exhibitor if there's any last minute exhibit hall booths, and they're like, yeah, in like the little startup village, we could get you like a small table, and then like they told us how much it cost, and we're like, that's like all of our money. But I was like, you know what, like high risk, high reward, like let's get it. And we were like stuffed in a corner. We used Party City balloons to decorate it last minute. Like we had no branding, nothing.
I love it.
Office Depot did things. But the thing that got people to our booth was the fact that we were wearing these Teachers Are Magic t-shirts. Everybody wanted the t-shirt. So they didn't
that's cool.
About our product. They didn't know that we were like, they knew nothing about us, but we would get them to look at it. And I remember we had an engineer there, Steffi, Michael's our engineer. And they could see how teachers were reacting to the demos that I was doing. And I could tell that they were starting to get it. They were like, oh, this could be world changing. Like the way that people are reacting when we demo the product. They came for the t-shirt and they left and they couldn't talk about anything else other than MagicSchool.
Yep.
So even though we had probably not a huge presence there, it was for the people who saw us and met us, they loved us, and I no regrets. It was a really worthwhile spend of $25K at the time.
So let's talk about the tech stack behind MagicSchool. Because we've already mentioned GPT. You were using that as a resource and training people early on before you came to this entity that is MagicSchool, or found this entity. Walk us through kind of under the hood stuff. Are you guys using major LLMs like OpenAI or Anthropic? Is it a mix of all of them? Is it whoever responds better to the query? There's got to be latency there somewhere. How does all of that work?
Yeah, so we use currently in the product, we use primarily OpenAI and Anthropic's models, and we use the frontier models from both labs. So the way that we think about this is some combination of what you just described. So we run our queries that power each of the tools and Reina, which is our chatbot on the platform, and we see what performs best against their intended task. And then we also have like a series of evaluations. We have a data science team that runs. We have an internally built like proprietary evaluations platform. And what this does is it allows us to run the same tool against multiple large language models. And then after that output is generated from each of the large language models that, is a combination of the prompt used, the system message that we give to the platform, and our own kind of guardrails. Whatever that comes out, you can think of like the layer being, those are the layers before it hits the model, then it hits the model, and then we get an output. Then we have these evaluators at the end of those generations that we evaluate based on different criteria. So I'll give you a couple of the evaluators. You could potentially imagine how these evaluators might be useful for some of our tools. One of which is like a a text leveling evaluator that like can recognize whether or not is this written on the appropriate grade level based on what the tool has asked to do. So it'll independently evaluate the output and say, is this appropriate for an 8th grader, a 7th grader, a 6th grader, and give it a score. And whichever kind of scores the highest would be the tool to use if the tool's most important quality would be like the leveling. The text level or the academic content comes out at like a grade level that's readable. Then
how often is that is that evaluation happening? That's not happening real time, is it? Or do you guys just do organic evaluations every once in a while?
Yeah, so there are two ways. One is we have human in the loop evaluation, and that is like typically the impetus for doing this would be, hey, a new model came out. So run it back against our evaluators, and like essentially the playing field has changed. Second would be models just change on their own without a new model coming out sometimes. We've learned that along the way. And you saw this probably recently with like the upheaval around GPT-5 coming out. Like, oh, this just doesn't work the same as we like it to work. But then in addition to when a new model comes out, sometimes like even like an API, we saw this with GPT-4o, is that it just worked a little bit differently like a month later without necessarily having any change to the model, right? And sometimes the labs will update the models and they'll tell the developers, hey, we made some quick updates to this to make X happen, but it wouldn't be like a model change.
Yeah, interesting.
So that happens. So we also run automated testing. So on a periodic basis, there's an automated version of that runs that will give us a report to let us know if there are any like major changes in the way that the tools are responding with the models that we're already using. But then there's the human in the loop that will run when there's a new model out or we have a new evaluator that we want to use for whatever reason. So another evaluator is like safety. Like, how does it respond when a student, might ask for something that could be dangerous? Like, how to make, something harmful, how to buy a gun or something like that, right? Like, how does the tool respond? And based on, for our student platform, that's particularly important. And then second would be another one we've been focused on recently is like a bias mitigation evaluator. So which models show the most bias and which don't. One thing to note that's exciting is we're going to start open sourcing all of that information. So we're going to probably write up a blog post the next month or so to share with you, like, what are the strengths of different models? What are the potential concerns of different models? The short version of it is that some of these models are not safe for kids. Like,
good answer.
They might be the most obvious statement, but like some of these models without any, so mind you, like almost every one of the models with the appropriate kind of like system prompting and like the things that we do to make sure that they like end up giving you like a really safe response for kids, they make them okay. We can adjust just about any model to make it work appropriately for the students in question. But just like the blanket, like, hey, I'm just gonna like allow unbridled use of like ChatGPT or a Gemini for students. That's probably not the right way to go right now. Like that. That's just based on our testing, very clear to us. So, that's like one thing to know is that there are some very progressive on the progressive end of school districts just saying, you know what, we're just going to allow kids to use these, and I think that would be a mistake.
Yeah, that's not me.
This is a great segue. Josh I care about what I'm about to say, but Josh Uber cares about student data, teacher data, FERPA, COPA, all the privacy things. Can you touch on MagicSchool's stance on those things and what you do? I always do this visual thing of I'm trying to protect my kids. I'm trying to hold on to them. Can you talk through the MagicSchool stance on that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we are from the ground up built for security, safety. FERPA, COPA obviously is a platform that generates most of its revenue from selling directly to school and district CIOs and leaders. These are the folks who are the gatekeepers, right? You just made that motion with your hands of like protecting your school and district. So if we don't have really buttoned up policies and don't have incredible practices at our company that protect data, then there's no chance that we're going to be viable or generate revenue in business. The good news is we also, I think one of the things that we bucked the trend on a little bit as a company is, I'd say one advantage of being someone who's like from schools and not from technology, not that there's not a lot of great people who are from technology building in the tech space, is that like this stuff is pretty intuitive to me. Like you're really transparent. We of course from the ground up is like we're not we will build with integrity. Those are our values. That's what schools and districts like desire and need, and that's the way I led when I was a principal. And I would tell every parent like our policies around behavior and discipline, and they wouldn't have to question those things. So like, why wouldn't we just open source all of our policies so people don't have to play guessing games around this stuff? And I would say what we get often from CIOs that we talk with is like, this is the best organized documentation I've ever seen. It is super clear and thoughtful. I can find the answers I need in the documentation. And then of course we have a large team that is dedicated to answering the questions that might be very specific to your school or district around privacy, down to the real nitty gritty. So now that we have a team that does that and we have partnerships across all 50 states, I probably can't speak to every single bit for every one of them, but the policies are open source. They're online, magicschool.ai/privacy. You can see every single way that we protect privacy. And we've also been independently rated as the top for privacy by Common Sense Media recently, their Common Sense Privacy Initiative. So we take a lot of pride in this and always aim. When we got like a 93%, which is the highest rating they've given, and like we're like we need to get to a 97%. We've already like looked at it and been like, oh, they missed some things. We can get this even higher. So cool. We have a team that's really, really committed to that and dedicated resource to make sure that's the case. One other thing, name here without being too self-promoting is that like this is actually one of the big differentiators between Magic School and others. Is like we have one audience, right? It's like schools and districts. All we think about when we build our product is how we build for them and in service of them. So obviously we get all of this like push and questions and critical eye on all these things from schools and districts, and that pushes us to be better. We accept that feedback. We update. We up for and as we fight Googles and Microsofts and all these different things, like the reason you pick us is because you know that we're building for you. You know that we're going to respond to your needs. We're going to make this as safe as possible for schools, and we're not to be held to the same standard as the fundamental fact of the matter for Google and Microsoft is like they're accountable to their shareholders and $1 trillion plus market cap, right? We are accountable to schools and districts, and you guys are the only way that we grow. So we have to build it. We have an economic incentive to build it, and we also have a mission orientation that means that we're going to be focused just on you all.
So try and kind of wrap up here in a few minutes, but give us a quick hit of what schools can expect in the next 6 months or so from Magic School. What kind of enhancements?
Tell us about the future.
Yeah, or what are blow our minds here, Adeel.
So some of the things that you're going to see in the near term are really, really dialed in school and district controls. So you're going to be able to site by site manage customized tools in the platform. We just launched today actually collections in the platform where you can make your own custom sets of tools, share those custom sets of tools with other teachers. So we're kind of digging deep into this idea that what if sometimes we'll hear from districts, we kind of want to build something ourselves, right? And like we've heard the AI is like, people are vibe coding and maybe we can do this. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to be pretty hard to do that from like a safety perspective.
Right.
But I get why you're saying that. You have all of your individualized needs. You have a very specific curriculum that you're building with, all of those different things that you want to make this feel like it was our in-house AI system. So you're going to see a lot of features in the near term that make this feel like yours. Like you can really, really hide and create new tools and kind of make it your own AI platform, even to the level of which we're talking about like letting branding be updated. So instead of saying school on the top left, can it just say your school district logo? And can you like just fully make it a tool set for you to create your own AI platform? Obviously using the the tools that we've built that are really intentional, but just adding a lot of customizations to it, whether that be being informed by curriculum, whether that being able to be connected to a Google Drive that like updates regularly, without giving away too much. Like, expect that it should work into your ecosystem in a really powerful way. Now the mind blowers, like what are we really building? Like that's like the crazy, exciting dream for the future. We have a bunch of really cool stuff coming. And we're having like a very special kind of like update in the next like month or two. That's going to be, you've probably seen us teasing like our AI operating system for schools. You should know that what we're building right now, we think is awesome. And like I've said this.
He's not going to tell us, Josh.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable.
I promise
He's skirting around it.
I'll give you a little bit more of it.
What's it rhyme with?
But you know, one thing I will say is that I've told this to our team, who works with, we have a customer experience team that works with, you know, hundreds of districts all around the country. And I believe this year, the most important new feature that MagicSchool will launch is not a feature at all. It is the application of this technology in really intentional ways in school. So if you can make one example I use is we already have this in the platform, the ability to customize a tool. And then if you're an enterprise partner, you can launch that tool to your school and district. You can say, hey, here's a customized tool that the school and district, all has access to. When that is really intentional, we see massive impact and usage around the tools that the district customized. I'll give you one example. We had a school in Texas, or a district in Texas, launch a teacher coaching tool that was aligned to their framework for teacher coaching. That's now the top used tool in their district. And it is only for instructional coaching, which is like mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like you would have never categorized MagicSchool into like a teacher coaching tool, but because this tool is aligned to their framework of the way they give next steps to their teachers after observation of the classroom, and it makes it so that when they can like talk to the chatbot and give an observation of the classroom, and then I can give them an aligned next step from like their corpus of instructional best practices. It ends up being this massively useful tool that took MagicSchool from like an educator tool to a administrative tool. And obviously there's leadership in that district that said, hey, we're going to get all of our instructional coaches together and we're going to talk about this. And then we're going to give them this tool to show them that, hey, you can really scale this across the entire district. But that's what I mean by the most interesting applications are probably going to be the best new feature, because, you know, anyone can have a tool, but if a tool is not used with intention, then, you know, all these like kind of bells and whistles and fun, funky things are only, they're marginal at best, right?
Right.
So when you think about like, you know, a shiny new feature on a platform, it's like, yeah, that's great, but like, I want depth of usage rather than just like one new feature that, you know, only 10 teachers in my district will use because they're really, really advanced AI users. So, don't get me wrong, we want the bells and whistles and the fun, funky new features too, like for that end of the barbell that's like really progressive and using this a lot. But when you talk about impact at scale, it's about taking the existing tools and really pointing them at like the big problems that you're trying to solve as a district, like teacher practice.
And making it approachable. Like that's, you know, and I think that's where MagicSchool was born, was taking these very robust tools and making them super, super approachable. And I think you guys have succeeded with that. So it'll be interesting in the next 6 months if we're going to see even more enhancements to that approach. That should pay off well for MagicSchool. Chris, any closing questions or thoughts?
So Josh and I on the podcast have been talking about our schools have AI committees spun up. We have started the school year with particular things opened up for our faculty and staff. We're still in that, if it's different tiers, right? We're in that beginning where it's still off for students, but it's going to be opened up. And I think a lot of schools, in particular this year, we've talked about. I think a lot of schools are going to start progressing towards, okay, yes, we want teachers to use this, and yes, we're going to give. These are our supported AI systems now. There's still a lot of hesitancy when you see the posts on like our K12 Tech Pro about it's bad for kids. What quick things would you say to tech departments that are listening about how should we approach opening things up, or what reasons should we, be advocating for this to be opened up for teachers, for students. Because I do think this next year is probably going to be we're going to start seeing that more and more.
Yeah, I'm actually, I wrote an op-ed on this that'll come out pretty soon. So I'll give you a couple of like the high level points on like why I think it's pretty important that we start using this for schools and districts. When I was a teacher, I led an after school session at my school around the dangers of social media usage. And that wasn't because I was like a technology dude. It was because kids were getting bullied in my middle school. And like, we felt like we needed to address this with families and we couldn't control it. And we needed families and making sure that the technology was used responsibly. I called it Parent Academy. I invited families in. I said, hey, here's all the tools that your kids are probably using. You're going to have to make some judgments on whether or not they should use these. That was 10 years ago, 10 or 12 years ago. And we're just now recognizing that like social media has been a net negative for kids.
Right.
We probably should be doing that across the country. And we're starting to ban cell phones, all those different things. So I think we can learn from that time and not wait 12 years, 10 years to start realizing these things. And there are a couple of principles from then that I think still apply today. If you just ban this stuff outright, then usage goes underground. Educators and parents will lose visibility and the chance to like teach judgment to kids. Like we have to teach them how to use these technologies appropriately in school if there's a chance that they're going to use them responsibly and well. If you allow it without guidance, then like shortcuts will win. Kids will use it to just write their essays. That novelty and just like getting something done quickly is appealing for a child and for an adult sometimes too. So I think that, but when you teach students like why or why not, you'll hear them have these really incredible articulate responses about how they're not going to use AI because they understand why they're not going to. They'll say things like, and I've heard this from students myself, they'll say things like, I don't want to offload all my thinking. My brain's in like most important developmental phase. So like my teacher uses it for me in school to give me writing feedback after I've written the essay. But I don't want to use it to have it write my essay because like I know that I'm gonna have to test anyways. I'm gonna have to be able to write on my own, and I want to be able to maximize this opportunity to grow and learn. I kid you not, a student told me that, a 10th grade student. And the only thing that you can get from that conversation, my big takeaway is when I left, obviously the child is brilliant and thoughtful, but my second thought was they must have an incredible teacher who taught them all of those things about why and why not to use it, and shouldn't every child have a teacher like that describing how to use it. Which
that's an interesting take. A very deliberate thought process by that student, clearly. We're right at 30 minutes. Adeel, we really appreciate your time. Not every founder of a major company that everybody's heard of. If you're in school, if you're in K12, you've heard of MagicSchool. I can't say that every founder of every company like this would be
hang out with us,
chat with us two yahoos. So we really do appreciate your time, and we hope this relationship. We can keep going with this relationship, and we'll look for some really, really cool things from MagicSchool
that you didn't tell us about.
Yeah, that you didn't. You still didn't answer. But yeah, we'll.
Yeah, once you get out of here, we're gonna badmouth on that question. But just kidding, kind of.
Yeah, but pleasure's all mine, guys. Announcements very soon. And you guys are doing the
Adeel. It's okay. It's okay.
No, but you guys are doing the hard work. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day, and look forward to reconnecting in the future.
All right. Awesome. We appreciate it. Thank you.
We might not be the same. You share the same pain that I do. We pray for sun, but we love the rain. Darkness is falling with the light shining through. For hope and you suffer change. I learned to speak of my point of view. We were buying words about the phrase of the baby and selling songs just to stay in the queue. So in the morning time, don't hesitate, unwind. Reflect, create, even if it takes all night.